Your unique story, our global audience. Global One Media.
Welcome, everyone, to Global One Media's exclusive one-on-one discussions with executives as they share insights into their company. This is a platform to help investors make informed decisions. I'm your host, Ashley Berry, and we're thrilled you're joining us. Today, we're welcoming Giulio Bonifacio, Executive Chair and Director of the company Alta Copper, formerly known as Candente Copper. The company is focused on the development of its 100% owned advanced stage copper project in Peru. They're listed on the TSX as ATCU and on the OTCQB as DNCUF. Giulio, welcome.
Thank you very much, Ashley.
So, Giulio, such a pleasure to have you with us today. Perhaps you could give us a brief overview of Alta Copper, its mission and vision, and the story behind how it all started.
By all means, effectively, Alta Copper Corp is the next chapter of Candente, if you will, and it's blessed with a project in northern Peru that's got very good size. It's a significant resource of over 16 billion pounds of copper. Advanced technical studies that will continue to advance further. And it's really looking at what's coming with the EV thematic and decarbonization, but also understanding that copper supply is declining here, and copper as a commodity is something that is desperately needed worldwide. And so how do you move forward on a project like this in a country as well, I would add, that is the second largest copper producer in the world. And so, there's always commentary on Peru being a challenging location. I would disagree with that comment. Clearly, this is a project that, many folks want to see move forward appropriately. And, we're faced with something that we can benefit from in a very significant way. And we've got some big shareholders in the background as well that support this.
Fantastic. I love how you mentioned that it is such an important commodity. I mean, that is absolutely the case. Let's talk about your exploration portfolio and, of course, the potential of your projects.
That's a very good question, and I don't say that lightly. When you look at the project, Alta Copper Corp is sort of the continuation of Candente Copper, which was in existence for plus 20 years. And the last time the project was drilled was in 2013. Cumulative drilling, 85,000 meters. And, we've already defined over a billion and a half tonnes, over 16 billion pounds of copper. When I say 16 billion pounds of copper, that's including the 4 million ounces of gold and the 92 million ounces of silver. And there's just a real good opportunity for us with what we see in the primary deposit called Cañariaco Norte, the secondary deposit, Cañariaco Sur, which has only had 15 drill holes and already sits on plus 2 billion pounds of copper, gold, silver, and moly. And then the third deposit, which is called Quebrada Verde, which looks very, very promising as well. So, the benefit of expansion drilling for us is really, it allows us to employ the community as part of the drill programs that we put forth. When you compare this project to many in our space in the development stage, and you realize that, at 85,000 meters, we've had nothing but success with by way of the drill bit. The opportunity for us to expand it further and create something that's even that much larger is a real opportunity, and it will draw the attention of many significant copper companies worldwide. And so, our intent here over the next 12 to 18 months is to re-engage with the community and do so appropriately. We have fantastic relationships that have been forged, but, part of that does require capital, help them with road improvements, with schools, and how we can help them along in that way, show them how they're going to be a partner in the project on a go-forward basis and a key stakeholder, and just understanding that process very well. And then secondly, moving the project to the next stage, which, means showing what the economics will look like, demonstrating the upside opportunity on the project, and finding that right partner to allow us to move the project to production. So very, very excited about the opportunity. I stepped in very, very recently as executive chair, been an investor for a number of years, been in the copper space for a number of years with other companies that I've founded and formed. And I've always liked this project to a point where I've, as noted, gotten more involved as executive chair, and we'll continue to move it forward. But, the name change, and we get asked about that, really gets back to, we're at the next chapter of this company. So let's move forward and appreciate what we currently have, but how can we, advance it to the next level? And very, very confident that we'll be able to do that.
Fantastic. The confidence is key. Let's talk about the importance of copper. What is your outlook for the commodity in the years to come?
Well, I mean, I've always had a positive view on copper, but that goes back. I've been in the copper space for plus 20 years with other companies I've formed. One is obviously in production. Another one is moving forward nicely. And I'm looking at Candente / Alta Copper Corp is probably, from my perspective, one of the more exciting projects. When I look at copper, if you look at it worldwide, you look at the use of copper and pretty much everything that we use as people. It's always been understood that there's a declining grade profile, and the copper supply, is a real challenge. And on top of that, you add decarbonization and the electrification thematic and electric vehicles. If anything, that's going to put an additional strain on it. So, as they say in our space in the mining sector, we have to look at projects based on the current commodity price, and that's what we're doing. And this is a project that makes a bunch of sense because it's got significant margins even at this copper price and even well below this copper price. But I'm very comfortable in saying that I see the copper prices trading in this range, and I think over a period of time you could see it move in a very dramatic fashion. And if you look at what is taking place worldwide, it'll be very, very clear to many folks that there's just not enough copper on the planet. There's not enough projects like Cañariaco that can be moved to production. There's not enough projects that, if you look at the Americas as a whole, permitting, the regulatory timelines are very lengthy. And so that has to change to meet the pending copper demand that will take place here in the coming years.
Of course, obviously, with these exploration projects, there is always a little bit of uncertainty. How do you actively reduce that around your projects?
Well, I mean, I got to point to the fact that this is more than an exploration project because it's already sitting on an economic deposit that's, as noted, 16 billion pounds and growing. And there's previous pre-feasibility study, previous preliminary economic assessment. So we already know where we're sitting on in terms of the project. It's more about how do we advance it to the next level in terms of, hey, is it ultimately going to be bigger? And when you look at some of the past drilling, and not to spend too much time on that, but there's just many, many areas in which we can follow up and believe we can add further tonnage and grade. And if we do that, we'll have a good level of success. But we've de-risked it to a certain stage. For us, it's more about, can we expand it further, which will draw a differing audience, if you will. Projects of size and merit draw a lot of interest from the majors and significant players in our space. And can we do the work that's needed from a community standpoint? And we do have, based on the founder of the company, Joanne Fries, she's been at it for 20 years, asked me to step in a more active way. I've done so. The relationships are, as we know, in any business sector, relationships are key. And how do you develop those business relationships? But you also need capital. As noted, helping them with road improvements, helping them with their schools, doing things so that they appreciate that we're going to build a project to the highest standard and show them very, very clearly that there's a fantastic opportunity for them to improve their quality of life. And if you look at the location of the project, it's northern Peru, it's in the backcountry. I think, if communicated and messaged appropriately with capital, but not egregious amounts of capital, but just demonstrate how they'll participate. And, the company Candente has been very quiet on that front for a number of years because of the lack of capital. That has now changed. We have a very large company called Fortescue Metals. It's a $60 billion company, iron ore. They're very active. They own 25% of Candente, soon to be called Alta Copper Corp. They like the project, clearly. They want us to advance it in an appropriate way. And so having those type of partners in the background, I think, will be extremely beneficial for the company as we move forward. And it is really about doing the things that we know we can do well in terms of advancing the community side of the equation. Why not drill the project out further? It hasn't been drilled for 10 years and it's got nothing but opportunity there. And in addition to that, put forth the appropriate technical studies done at the highest standard. And we are going to be putting out an optimized preliminary economic assessment, which is just an economic study that demonstrates the viability of the project. But everything that we put out relative to studies has proven that, we're well advanced. We're not just an exploration company. We're more in the development stage, moving to the next level. And I think that's, that for the listeners should be a very key point in my estimation.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you mentioning that twice now about it being more than an exploration company, because really what you're talking about is scalability. And it seems like you have all the pieces in place for this. So last question, Giulio, is there a message or specific updates you'd like to convey to anyone interested in Alta Copper, including the potential investors here?
Simply build off of some of the discussion today that it is a copper developer that is going to see some success as we move forward based on the merits of the project and the opportunities, and a company that is now very much focused on a strategy that focuses in on our core competencies, but appreciating that projects of this size will garner attention, and it's really more how do you convey that to various incoming groups and provide a value proposition for stakeholders and investors that can truly see the benefits of being a shareholder in a company such as Alta Copper Corp.
What excites you the most?
What's happening, I think, the next cycle. If you look at the previous cycle, many projects and companies were now trading at a discount. That's starting to change. But if you look at the demand for copper and you look at our project specifically and the upside opportunity by way of drilling and what we can add to it, but appreciate that we're already sitting on a project that's economical and, giving us value for the fact that we can de-risk the project. And when I say de-risk the project, demonstrate that there's a relationship on an ongoing basis with the community, demonstrating that there's upside relative to the resource, albeit to a certain extent, that will add significant value to the company. But, as I've noted, we're already sitting on a project that's economical. It's already of great size. And if you do a comparison on projects in the Americas, you'll see that, it's 16 billion pounds currently, most of which is in the measured and indicated category. And not to get into that level of detail, but it really simply means that the resource is advanced and studied well enough that you can move that into the reserve category. Those attributes on the project help us a whole lot relative to, what is, in my estimation, likely going to take place with the EV thematic, but against the backdrop that copper supply is very, very challenged here in the coming years. And, that'll equate to a commodity price that, in my estimation, moves higher than what we're currently sitting at.
Well, from what I can see, a terrific and much needed mission. Giulio Bonifacio, Executive Chair and Director of the company Alta Copper, it was a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you for sharing your unique story with us, and we look forward to sharing updates with our audience.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for taking the time today. Very much appreciated. And I do look forward to getting back on with you and discussing some of the advancements within the company as we move this forward.
Wonderful.